Friends, family, and keepers of the faith, welcome to another Del Boy blog. And as always, we're going to date stamp this. It's year 4 blog 24, or in legacy numbers, it's my 180 blog. And it's dated 3rd of August 2025. Yes, got paid. Not that helps too much. Two-thirds of my money is gone already. But it's so good that I can now not worry too much about the food bill, where that money is going to come from. But it also means that when it comes to my mother's pension, got to pay the council tax, which will take all of the chunk of change that she gets per week, which means that the whole food bill and everything will rely on my money. And it just goes on and on and on. Don't want to speak too much about money. It's a subject that I manage, and I'm happy to do it. You know, my mum needs a quality of life, and that's never going to change. I'll dip into any pot that I've got to do that. Looking outside, it's supposed to be really rainy today because, well, you'll see in a news article a bit later on, there is a changing weather coming along. But at the moment it's overcast, but quite warm. And I really ought to be going out there this afternoon and getting rid of some more weeds, because we have the bins picked up on a Tuesday. One of those bins is garden waste, and just like anything, penny pinching government, you have to pay for the garden waste one. You have to pay a yearly subscription. It goes in our brown bin, and therefore I hate it when that bin doesn't get picked up with anything in it. And of course, with the weather like it's been, the grass has not been growing, so there's been very few trips into the garden to mow the lawn. So yeah, tell you what, the biggest problem that I've got in the garden at the moment is we've got a damson tree, and the damsons are now totally ripe, and they're falling on the ground. And every time I go up the garden, you know, just to put things on the bird table and that, squish, squish, squish. Oh my God, terrible. And I can't make jam to save my life. So, and there's no, I did ask the neighbours, do you make jam and that? Do you want some damsons? I've got a box I can put a load in there. They're not interested. So they're just sort of on the floor. And most of the time through the years, they've sort of like been picked up by the lawnmower. Because we've got a petrol lawnmower, a Honda one, quite an expensive one, and that metal blade just picks that up straight over it. But again, haven't been using that. So, you know, starting off, let's get the news out the way. Hopefully I can read my chicken scratch. It's all here in the pad. And we start off as we do with the war each time, the going on in between Ukraine and Russia. It started off with this today when I looked. Huge fire at Russian oil depot after drone strike by Kiev in blow to Putin's war machine. This appears in retaliation to Russia's devastating missile attack on southern Ukraine. Meanwhile, Trump has warned Putin's right-hand man that he is entering very dangerous territory with these attacks. Yeah, thanks Trump for telling us that. We need to end this war. It's that article reads like tit for tat. Russia's just gone and blown up another southern area, a civilian area at that, in southern Ukraine. So what does Ukraine do? We'll do a Russian attack on one of your oil depots. You'll need that oil. and that'll stop your attacks on us. Tit for tat, tit for tat. And all the time, all the other weeks, it's what's going on with this ceasefire? So I just want the war to end. All sad stories there. So let's see what the UK news is, shall we? Let's hope it's got a little bit better. Top one up here, the Lionesses won Euro 2025 and they returned to London with the trophy and a large procession through London and a visit to number 10. A nice little story. It's great that England have retained a trophy. So this is the first time a major trophy has been sort of retained. And this time it was on foreign soil, so that's another first. I think what they mean by that is football major trophy. We've won lots of trophies and retained them. If you consider things like boxing belts and all that sort of stuff. But a nice good news story we could do with some good news, couldn't we? The funeral for Ozzy Osbourne occurred this week, with thousands watching the funeral procession in Birmingham. Very sad. I mentioned about the deaths last week. My childhood shrinking all the time. I didn't mention some other ones, really. I should have mentioned about Cleo Lane. Cleo Lane died. A very, I wouldn't say obscure, but a very divisive jazz type singer. She was always there in the 70s for me. She was doing all this music where she'd go do, this do type sound that she'd make, and she'd bob her head while she was doing it, looked like a chicken. But saying all of that, just like my childhood with Magnus Pike and those sort of people that were in the fringes, they were always there on celebrity squares or something like that, and so were big for me. And again, a sad loss and a big one for the jazz musicians. And from Friday, I've seen nothing in the news more than this storm that's about to arrive. So we've been warned that there is a change in the weather front, with Storm Floris approaching. So this was on Friday, and since then it's been nothing but Storm Floris, Storm Floris, Storm Floris. So we got it about 4 days ahead. Today we're supposed to get the start of the weather front, and then from Monday onwards there are storm warnings everywhere. Yellow areas from Manchester up through Scotland. The least hit will be London and south of London. Midlands will get caught with that outskirt. So I'm looking at our fences at the moment and going, oof. But it's not like winter storms, like 90, 100 mile an hour gusts. We are talking 60, 70 mile an hour. And I'm sure people that are looking at this from America go, that's an everyday occurrence, 60, 70 miles an hour. What are you talking about? But remember, this is Britain. We get a sort of mix of everything, and we don't get massive changes. Do you see what I mean? So when something like this occurs, it does affect us, and we're not ready for it, because it is so varied. Can't remember the last time we had a hailstorm. But we're not geared for that. Frosts, yeah, but we don't know when they occur really very much. Snow, oh my god, major disruption every time there's snow. We haven't got many roads that have got heat underneath the tarmac and all of this sort of stuff. And gritters, always under budgeted. Every government under budgets the gritting, etc., etc. Because they hope that we go through a year where there's very little need for them. That's what we live on, a hope on all of this. So really, that's the news. And therefore, we sort of like just talk a little bit about me. And it's been one of those busy weeks. Challenging. some downs, some ups. I tend to feel a little bit that because now that I'm so busy with my mum, I'm sort of out of sight, out of mind. I definitely feel that. Less people talking to me, less comments, less noticeability in Discord. There's been a couple of people that I've got to do a big shout out for, and they're people like Steve, Denny, Ian Hill. You know, they've been a shining beacon through this. But everybody has been great. Everybody who writes a comment, absolutely fantastic. It's just it's not like somebody purposely contacting you to say, "Oh, do you want to have a chat?" Like as if they'd just turned up and wanted a cup of tea with you and find out how you are. And I do know that very, very close friends to me are just very, very busy. Got their own things going on in their life. And even some of that is encroaching on what I do during the week, which means less and less people see what I do. But it is what it is, and to be quite honest, I'm happy. I'm happy because I know that my friends are doing great work out there. I mention their channels every week. I know that they're worried about my mum, because the first thing that happens whenever I go in anywhere, it says, "Hey, Delboy, hope you're okay. Hope your mum's doing well." Always that's mentioned. But I'm not able to get to a number of things that are I can watch recorded videos, but can't watch the live ones as much unless they fall at the weekend or a particular time. A friend of mine, Steve, like I said, shining beacon Steve is, said, "Do you know what I'd love to see from you? Don't care what time of day or night it is. Can you do something live?" And I used to do stuff with Denny, and that's still going to happen. It's just finding a time. And I've done a couple of live ones where I played some games, and people just joined in and were happy to see me play. I've always avoided doing too much live stuff because I enjoy watching people like Mainmeister do it. I can sit back and I can see just how happy they are doing it. The people in the room chatting about it, requesting games, all of that sort of stuff. And I fear that when I do it, 2 or 3 people will turn up. I'll be just playing a game for my own amusement, talking when when I should be concentrating on playing the game, which therefore means I'm not going to get much in advancement of the game if I'm doing that, because I'm more concentrating on what people are saying than I am in the game. But I'm thinking about it, and maybe I'll do something live if I can. I will always try and find a slot though, that doesn't interfere with my friends. If I can't, then of course, I'll make the decision yes or no. But the one thing I won't do, and this is the number one thing, is that if somebody has advertised a week in advance that they're doing something live, I'll never encroach on it. I know from the past that if somebody's put an advert out that they're doing that, then they've probably done research and they've spent hours before that event to research something, and then some bastard comes along thinks, "I'm bored, think I'll do a live," and that no. I want everybody to have not the dilemma of having to choose and the little person lose out. But that, to be quite honest, that's just me. I mean, at the end of the day, YouTube is there for everybody. It's just for me. I want to do the very best I can, and I tend to worry, and before I even press that button, and I want to give enjoyment, and I know that others are so much better at it than me. So when I spend a lot of time prepping for it and getting all het up to hit before I hit that live button, despondency can come in, and that's the thing. It's not about other people, what they're doing. It's about emotionally how you are, and most of the time I'm not in an emotionally good place. So it's all down to me, really. And from that point of view, I'll move on from that. But if people want it, I'll do it. I've got my Mister. I can do a 64 session. I can do a Spectrum session. It'll be good for me. It'll be good for me, won't it? I mean, some people have seen my gameplay, and some people have said, tell you what, as a first go, and you haven't played that for a bloody long time, you did all right. You know what I mean? There's nobody that's turned around and said, wow, look at those skills. Because that's not going to happen. I can tell you that. And like I say, when it comes to film stuff, I feel a fossil. Not wanted or needed on that particular side of things. But despondency aside, I've started a new video thing called Del Boy's Film Shorts, and I really enjoyed it. Took 9 minutes to do, no research. Switched it on, talked, showed off a physical media box, dropped to my movie collector database, which automatically brings in what the film is all about and who's in it and the crew, and then downloaded a trailer and showed that off at the end. Marvelous. And I had great fun with it, especially the non-research side of things. Somebody did turn around and said, I'd love it if it didn't interrupt with the longer videos that I used to do. And I mentioned it actually. If the sharp-eyed amongst you, and sharp-eared as well, would know that for each of these shorts, there is going to be an extended shorts. The ones that I'm passionate about, that I'm going to talk about for 20 minutes, go into the extended slot. And that will happen with the games as well. And when it comes to the friends wanting me to play, it went on hiatus, but it's not gone. It's whether I felt that my friends wanted me to continue, because I didn't want to encroach on them. And every time, it used to work like this. I'd ask them the night before, and then I'd film it the next day. And with my mum's health, sometimes it'd be the following day or even the following week. But I knew what the game was then, and it's not fun to look at it 7 days later knowing what the title is. It's just not. So it turned into not a chore, but it turned into this. It's not even really promoting my friends, which is what the initial intention was, by the way, is to say, hey, my friend who's got a channel wants me to play this, and I know what a gitty is, so he wants me to die a lot. And it was fun. But at the end of the day, they don't really need that anymore. They've got thousands of subscribers now. Now it's fun if I want it to be fun, but it was fun because it was an unknown, and now I can't get to it positively the next day. which means that there's more possibility that I'll remember what the game is, because I've been around games and all that sort of stuff since 1977. So it's not beyond the realms that I won't recognize the game instantly, but after 5 days, not without even looking, I'll be going, what's that game on the Atari? Bullion? Oh, and 4 days later I'll be going, I know what it is now. Shit. Like that. It's as simple as that. The excitement was not knowing, So anyway, let's talk about my week. Usually not an awful lot happens Monday and Tuesday. I usually skip to Wednesday, don't I? But on Monday I had to go to the dentist. Many that would have been sharp-eyed would have also noticed that I went to the dentist a couple of weeks ago, and he did finished off a clean of my teeth, because it's national health. They use other methods. So in this particular method, it was a pick and using a drill to go under the gum line, which meant that I was bleeding for days. I mean, there was films, and but I mean the back of my lips, that when I went like this, there was red on my fingers because it was just bleeding all the time. But when he was doing that, he found that there was a couple of holes that needed filling just underneath the gum line that hadn't quite gone in yet but needed covering. So he recommended that I come back in 2 weeks' time and have that work done, which I did. And it was one hole. It was one thing at that time, and it was up this side, which is always my bad side. This left top side, my bad side. And that's actually due to when I used to do running. I used to do little fun runs, 5 mile park runs, all that sort of stuff when I was when I had none of my sort of like sciatica and arthritis and stuff. And somebody elbowed me in the face when we were starting off, and it split my tooth in half, but not across. It was that way, and they managed to screw it together for a long period of time. But every time I was chewing it, the gap, it would prise apart till it actually went, and then they had to drill it down to a stump and put a peg up there, and then that over time has fell off, and it's attacked the teeth to the left and right, and the enamel is sharding away. Bound sure to happen over a period of time, because when I was doing that running, what I was talking about, it was the 90s, and we're 25, 30 years past that point. So constant food and so forth has, just eroded the enamel at the edges away till it just, the enamel can actually just come away from the dentine layer. But saying that, I went in and he continued to get rid of some more of the decay, and he noticed there was a couple more, but they weren't holes. He wanted to put a groove in the tooth and put a white filling across to keep the teeth together, rather than put some type of brace. And he noticed there was a tear at the top of my gum, and he had to use those suture types that dissolve. So he had to stitch. So he had to use Novocaine, and I'll tell you what, it was excruciating, because it was all numb. I felt like I'd got a fat lip, and those sutures that dissolve, you could feel the gum expanding away, but it stayed amazingly. It's just everything is magnified by 1,000-fold when you're using your tongue to see what's going on. Feels like there's a huge thing there, and it wasn't. So that took 2 days to go away. White filling, you can't see. There's no metal. White fillings. National Health Service. Don't have to see him for 6 months. Oh, when you hear that, them turn around and say that, no, don't need to see you now for 6 months. Keep cleaning. Here's some advice for you. Get some denture stuff. But you don't, but for you and your teeth, and he did say this, don't use that box stuff where you pull it out and you do this. Get one that's on a peg hook. It's like a handle with the denture stuff between 2 prongs. And he said that way you can get into your teeth at angles like that. And all you need to do is just basically gently rub, and you'll go straight through because your teeth are very close together, and it will seem like you couldn't push anything through it. But if you just gently prod, you'll get there. Don't rinse your mouth with Listerine or any of that stuff. It's bad for you. Use salt water if you're going to do anything. All that reminding stuff that I sort of know, given to me. And Tuesday was uneventful when we get to Wednesday. So on Wednesday, 2 people are off work. And I get an email on the Monday morning saying, can you cover the one of the dashboards? Because we all now take control of one dashboard, of which there are 3. And that meant I had to look after 2 of them. And on Wednesday, oh my God, we had so many meetings. We had a monthly meeting, a daily meeting, a meeting to do a video of how to do a dashboard. And I had 2 dashboards to do. And it just happened that I missed my lunch, started that day at 6 o'clock and started work at 7, because looking after my mum. And my sister left at the normal time at 2:30, and I didn't finish work till 5:30, which meant I was working from 7 till 5:30 straight without getting out of this chair. And that's because I lost track of time, and things were ringing in my ears from last week's blog, where some people are thinking that although I'm logging in early and I am working, I might not be working specifically at those times. And I wanted to do a good job, like I always want to do a good job. But I was in pain all evening, and it was very difficult to get my mum manoeuvred into bed with the pain and agony that I was in. And I had to take more gabapentin and cocodamol to get through the night to be comfortable. And it took several nights to get my sleep back to anything close to what you consider sleep. And my sleep is terrible, where I'm getting 3 hours tops at night in one go, is what I'm trying to say. Otherwise it's restless sleep, waking, going to sleep, waking, going to sleep, which makes me tired for the next day. So Wednesday got off to a particularly bad start because it was 5:30 and I was doing a Ian Hill The Ramblings live in the evening. Getting the dinner ready for my mum was paramount, and got that done in an hour. So that took me to 6:30. Then she needed the toilet, which she needed quite badly. That took me to 7. And then it was get ready for 8. I had an hour. You know, you might think to yourself, an hour, that's loads of time. But I like to liven things up. I like to get the videos that I bought this week ready. Write down what films I concentrate on what I'd watched over the last week. Write that down. Have a background image in the background. So find a 1920 by 1080 picture that's entertaining or new. And then spend the next 3 to 4 hours having a lovely chat, which I did. Wednesdays are great for me. I love Wednesdays. Ian's such a charismatic character and totally 100% behind me, and basically loves our little chats. And I've been sending him a couple of films that I thought he would have watched, but he hasn't. It's amazing how much we assume people have watched because they come from the same era as ourselves, but actually it skipped them by. You know, I was talking to him about a film called Explorers, which was a sort of like a science fiction Stand By Me that was out in 1985. And he said, never seen it. Oh my God. I had that out on VHS. I bought it on DVD. Never bought a Blu-ray or a 4K of it. I don't think there is one. I think there might be a Blu-ray though. I've got the soundtrack to it. It was just like when you go back to Stand By Me, you go, why haven't I watched this in a long time? It's just a nice film to watch on a Sunday afternoon when it's raining. It's one of those feel-good factor films. And so I sent him a copy, you know, digital, and said, I'll tell you what, if you can find that at World of Books or Magpie or whatever it is, eBay, get it. And I'm looking forward to hearing what he thinks, because I sent that on the Thursday as a digital. So we'll see. You know, there was another one that was mentioned, Tron. Yeah, because somebody mentioned in the chat, that was Cy, great bloke Cy is. He was talking about the trailer to the new Tron. It's the third Tron Ares, I think it's called. And then we started talking about Wendy Carlos, who did the soundtrack to Tron. I don't know if you want to call him the godfather of electronic music, because Wendy Carlos was Walter Carlos in the 70s, and she went through a change, you know, a sex change, so is not really Walter anymore, it's Wendy. But Tron has a fantastic electronic score. Got me interested in her early work, which was Beethoven in electronic, which got no end of awards. And if you can pick up any Wendy Carlos stuff, do so. You can get it from her website, but most of it's out of print. And I tell you what, finding a score for Tron is like trying to find a Blu-ray version of Tron. A couple of years ago, I think they did re-release it, but it's very difficult anyway to find some of these things if you haven't got it the first time round. Like the Black Hole, that's another one. You used to be only able to get it through the Disney Club, and if you weren't a member of the Disney Club, then hard shit. And the Disney Club was mostly Americanized, which meant that if you're in Britain, forget it. You could get it though. I mean, it's just you missed it. Simple as that. Wednesday, fantastic time with my friend Ian. If you haven't subscribed to him, please do. I mean, he's a great guy. We had chats after the event, you know, so we finished about, 11. We had a chat for a good 45 minutes, talking about just about anything. And just before the live event, we were talking about a game show. I don't know how this conversation occurred. That's on a Freeview channel at the moment. It's called Rewind. I don't know what the channel number is, but it's Freeview, so it'll cost you nothing to find. And the game show is called What's My Dog? What's My Dog? Full of dog puns in it. It's all about the owners and seeing the dog do tricks and go through mazes and how good they are and how much they know about their dog. And then you got the celebrity that bring their dog on, a little bit like Who Lives in a House Like This, you know, that Through the Keyhole game show, but with dogs. And, you know, there's loads of puns in it, like here's the bone us round. Dog bone, see? Bonus. Oh, God. But amazingly, it ran for 5 years, 5 seasons, and was on. I still can't believe it. I think it was something like 60 odd episodes, 58 episodes or something like that. There are even, I think, Christmas specials on it. It blows my mind what we were watching back in the day. But we had a chat about that, and that was fun. That cheered me up. Thursday, I managed to get through Thursday. But Wednesday had one other bad thing. Doctor's surgeries again. Here we go. Got a text message to say my meeting with the doctor on Tuesday was cancelled. I had to rebook, and it's even further away. That's to do with sleep deprivation. And I went down to get my tablet, and one was missing. And they said, the pharmacist said, we never received the ticket. Not our fault. You need to go and speak to reception. So I went to speak to reception. They turned around and said, you didn't get that because you haven't ordered that tablet since, I think they said May. And I said, this is my new heart tablets. It goes with another tablet, which you've given me. And what do you mean I haven't ordered it? I ordered 2 months worth each time. When was the last time I ordered it? And she said, mid-May. I said, yeah, it's the end of July. So, of course, I'm ordering it now, aren't I? 2 months later. Oh, it's our error then. Apologies. But you need to order it again. And I said, I'm down to one tablet. This is a heart tablet to help with my stents that I had 1st of September. Not an awful lot they could do, but they put urgent on it and did it at reception. And I didn't get a text message that evening, but the receptionist told me if it was urgent, it will definitely be there the next day. So on Thursday, I went down to get the tablets. This is the second visit, and the pharmacist turned around to me and said, it takes 72 hours. I said, so Friday is when I've got to go and pick it up, is it? Yes. I said, well, I'm going to put in a complaint. Fed up with this. So I went away, and on Friday I had to go and get it. So that's the reason I brought that up, because we're at Thursday at the moment. And what have I put down here? I do apologise. Yeah, so I finished working on those 2 dashboards, because basically the end of Thursday, that was the 2 days off. So that was quite good. So I knew that I was going to have a little bit of a better day Friday. Friday's always a busy day for me. And the bad news is that I had a bit of an argument with my sister's brother-in-law. I wanted to try and get my mother to walk more. That's where it came from. She sits in her chair all the time, lies in a bed at night and in the morning, and never goes walking unless she goes to have her hair done on a Friday. And I've noticed that she's getting weaker and weaker, and I want her to see if we can keep some strength in her legs. And Paul was going, it's not going to happen. There's no point trying. She's just getting worse and worse. And I said, but we need to try. And he said, so he basically called me all the expletives and the name, he gave me the C word, all of that. Got quite, not violent, but quite agitated, saying all sorts of things like, well, you do it then. Why are you always putting it on us? So for me to have to explain, I'm here 24/7, mate, and I'm working 8 hours. And then when my sister's gone, I'm working those other hours. And he goes, weekends. And I said, weekends? My God, I'm doing stuff around the house, preparing this blog. It's the only thing that I've got left in my life, a blog. He calmed down when he understood that he was getting too boisterous. And he did apologise to me, which is nice. Because he said some horrible things. He came up to me and he said, you do understand that your mother is dying, don't you? That sort of thing, which, of course I know. It's vascular dementia. I'm not stupid. But I don't need somebody to tell me, And all I came up to him was, do you know what? I had a little conversation with you, Paul, and all I was saying was, I want to try. If it doesn't work, fair enough. But I don't want to go through life thinking we didn't try that, and if we did, she might be around now. Do you want to go through life like that? So we came to an agreement that he might try over the weekends to do a bit more, try and get my mum out with fresh air in a wheelchair. I said I'll try my lunch hours to get my mum to walk with the Zimmer frame just for 20 minutes down the road. And the reason this came about is that I watched my granddad over 3 years die and wither. He was a big, strong man, fell down the stairs, went into hospital. 4 months later, he was put in a nursing home. His house was sold, and he didn't want to get out of bed. He got thinner and thinner and thinner, to the point that he died. He didn't want to get out of bed, didn't want to walk, didn't want to do nothing, and all that happened was he looked like bone at the end. I don't want to see my mum like that. No, I don't. So I think I was in the right. And he was a really nice guy about it and apologised for some of the things that were said. And I said, this is the difficulty, Paul, is that anything I say seems to be misconstrued. All I talked about was, I want to try. Try it once, try it twice. At least we tried. If it doesn't work, at least we go through life knowing we tried it. I don't want to hear it's not worth doing. I don't think that'll do anything. It's like that sort of thing. I'm going, well, what's the harm in trying? It's like that. So, yeah, that was a bad night Thursday. But Friday was the normal, get my mum, get her hair done, do the weekly shopping, get the third visit to the pharmacist where I got my tablet. Things were starting to come together. And I had a conversation with my sister that worked out as a positive. Now, I was worried that it would turn into yet one or more of these arguments, right? But I said, I've had a thought about winter, and we're worried that my sister won't have a car, and that she's going to have to come here in the morning, go at 2:30, and then come back like she's doing at about 10 to 9, and then go away again about 9:45, and she'll have to get a bus, and this is winter. So it's dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I said, you do understand that I've been itching, this is to my sister, to do more things. I know I'm a bloke, and it's not right for me to sort of like clean my mum's bits, you know. But if we can but if you're telling me true, which is, even when you're washing mum, she's washing her own bits. I've got no problems with seeing her boobs, you know, as long as my mum's not embarrassed by it. I already chuck away her turds down the toilet. How hard is this? So here is my suggestion. You come here in the morning and you double up on checking what's been happening with mum and make sure she's cleaned her teeth and has got barrier cream and everything on. And you go at 2:30 like normal, and I'll check on mum as I can in my breaks from work. But when you go at 2:30, I take control. You don't have to come back at night. I will make sure that I get mum up. I will take her to the toilet. I will make sure she's got her pull-up pants. She will have a clean. You know, I'll do what I can with her back and put in E45 cream on to make her skin soft. And put her pajamas on, and I will get her into bed, and that'll be the end. And in the morning, you'll just check that I did everything I can, because as long as she's comfortable at night, you can correct any mistake I might have made in the evening. And as I get better, those mistakes will be less. And it means that you don't have to spend the night here, getting that extra visit, paying for taxis, paying for the buses and all of that sort of stuff. And I'm doing more in regards to looking after my mum, and we get past that winter stage. She agreed. Couldn't believe it. She said, yeah. I said, so all we got to do in the next couple of weeks, and this is to my sister, let's pick a day, let's pick a night, Might be a Thursday, could be a Tuesday, whatever. And it will mean that the following day, you know that you've got to come in and just do a little bit more checking to make sure I did everything okay. And there is always me at the end of the phone if I'm having problems, right? I don't envisage there being one because I get my mum out of bed and I get her into bed with her help, obviously. But I think I can handle it for for one session into the evening. How hard is it to get pajamas and things on? It's only that embarrassment of washing my mum that's going to be the killer. And I know how to clean up afterwards. We clean we've got a portable bowl with a sponge and flannels. And each night I put hot water in there and pour Dettol and leave it to stand overnight. Then I chuck it away in the morning. And I do that with the commode as well. So how hard is it going to be? It's not that big leap. So we're going to try it. So that was great. And that was, along with the blog prep on Saturday, my whole Saturday really, other than I did manage to record that Del Boy film shorts, which took 9 minutes. I thought, I've just got my mum a cup of tea. She's just had her dinner. She doesn't want the toilet. I'll put the barrier across. Let's see how quickly I can set things up. So I opened up OBS. I opened up my Logitech microphone software. And basically opened up my database software for films and hit the record button. Bang, 9 minutes. I'd already done an ident the night before, which took, I tell you what, that's the longest part. It took 45 minutes to do the ident. So it's 45 minutes of doing a picture and 9 minutes to record the damn thing. No brainer. And I hope it goes down well. That's it, really. That concludes my week. I'm going to do the shout outs and then I'm going to have a bit of a break because I've been going for 47 minutes now. Bloody hell. And I need to check I want to check and see if my mum's okay. Splash my face with water, that sort of thing. So we'll get to the shout outs, which you know I love the shout outs. Thank you very much to all of these people that left a comment. There's some weird things going on with YouTube at the moment. I swear that there was a couple of comments that were here that are not there now, and I didn't remove them. And of course I can't check by email because they're not there either. But you know, I do have an alert text that comes through, and those are there. So it looks very much like when they do remove the message, it removes it from my email drive for Gmail, but it can't get rid of the text because that's gone through a phone system. So it looks very much like they can't retract that. So yeah, there's at least 2 that are like that. So anyway, big shout outs to these people, by the way. Steve's Gaming Part 2, you bastard. No, my friend Steve, Denny, Wee Bob Art, Ian Hill The Ramblings, Colin Jones aka Ponder, Martroid, and Robert's Retro Gaming. May seem like a small list, but like I said, there's a couple that have been removed. I don't know why. And of course, everybody's busy. We know this. And to be quite honest, there's no, guarantee that I get a lot of messages each week. I don't know. We're in the middle of summer holidays now, and people are on holiday, took their kids away, all sorts of stuff. So, horses for courses. So with that, I'm just going to hit the pause button and I'll be back shortly. Hope you've enjoyed this first half. We'll get back and we'll discuss the comments. Won't be a moment. And we're back, and it's literally 5 minutes. Checked. My sister's got her a cup of tea. She's having a dinner. And I splashed my face with a bit of water and refreshed my drink. No more than that. And we're going to do the comments now. And like I say, thanks to everybody that commented. And thanks to everybody, by the way, that puts a like and does all of that sort of stuff. Because it really does make me feel great, wanted, all of that sort of stuff. We all need that in our lives, don't we? So let's get cracking. The top. It's not in any particular order, but I think it's put it into the order of the last comment that's been made, and the last one here is Robert's Retro Gaming. It says here, "Hi Del, it's been a crazy busy for me." I think he means week for me, but he hasn't put that in. Week for me with both work and life lately. I haven't made much time to watch your blogs, but I'm hoping to get back to them this week. All the best to you and your mum, as always. No, wonderful. And just to actually think that you went, Del, I want to leave a little message for him, let him know I was thinking of him. It makes you think that at a particular point in the day, somebody went, you know what? I haven't done something for Del Boy. Really ought to do that. It's 2 minutes of my time. I'll do that, and do that. It's just wonderful when something like that, because it makes you think. It makes you go, do you know what? For a second of a week, somebody went, Del Boy. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you just go, man, they went through that week, didn't even think about me. You know, that happens. It's happened millions of times for me. I tend to find that the biggest problem for me at the moment is not thinking of my friends, is getting the time to write something down, log in, remember it, all that sort of stuff, because most of the time those thoughts come in when I'm at work, and then when finished work I'm so busy with my mum I've forgotten already that earlier on in the day I meant to put a comment or something. So yeah, not brilliant. So thank you very much. Salute, my friend. And if you haven't subscribed to Robert's Retro Gaming, please do. I'll be mentioning him later on. You'll hear just what his content is. No wonder he hasn't got time. Jesus, man. Slow down. God's sake. You'll burn yourself out. I always say something like that, don't I? Put my foot in it or whatever. Next one, my mate Denny. There we are. I think we had a phone call actually on Monday. We had a little conversation. I'd just come out of the dentist, so I probably sounded rough. Could hardly move my mouth. So he's put, "Hiya mate, how are you, Dale, and how's your mother?" So I've sort of like explained a little bit already about my mother. She doesn't get better. She stays the same or deteriorates. But I try to keep the quality of life there, as does my sister and everybody in our family. I don't think we could do any more than we're doing. Absolutely nothing. So she's getting the best care she could possibly get, as far as I'm concerned. You've put, "Pleased to say I've finally got a few days off, so I'll definitely be doing a few jobs and hopefully get to grips with a new AI package called Artistly. Been wanting to try it out. Mid-Journey at £60 a month is beyond even my budget. A one-off payment of £140 for a lifetime license is much better value. Okay, it's not Mid-Journey standard, but near enough for my projects." Yeah, by all means, anything that makes you feel good, anything that makes things a bit easier, do. AI is a tricky thing because some people frown at it, and some other people go, "Oh, I couldn't do without it." I use it as a tool. Work are trying to encourage us to use AI to cut our email wording down, because some of the managers do blogs at the end of the week, and I tell you what, they read like War and Peace. If I was to read them, I'd get no work done. Reading about their life and how busy their week's been and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, get to the bloody point. I'm laughing at all of those sort of things. Talking of projects, I'm loving your new shorts. Gaming, now that you've moved it into films as well. Personally, I like the format. Gets to the point, across in a bite-sized chunk without overloading the viewer with stats. My hope is you'll extend this to your 8-bit years. It fits the format. Actually, it doesn't. 8-bit years is not stopped. I might put it into the extended shorts, but the 8-bit years was a special thing where a game particularly had an influence, where I had a lot of memories associated with how I found it, how I played it, how it turned into stuff that I played on home machines, things that I was doing, like whether I was out and about with my nan when I was taking her to bingo, all of that sort of stuff. And so it's more a sentimental, nostalgic journey with overtones of what was going on in my life at that time. The shorts are specifically, here's something, here's a bit of information about it, and here's me playing it. There you go. And the films is more unboxing with a trailer that show you why I watched it, and it'll probably be more on the mass films that I've got rather than the ones that I've got a deep sentimental journey with. So it fits in, and doesn't take away those other formats away. They're just harder to do, longer to do, more research to do, and so harder to actually get to. You continue. The cinema seems to be currently focused on Superman and Fantastic Four, and both seem to have divided film buffs. I'd say that extends into Jurassic Park as well. There were 3 films, but Jurassic Park was right at the beginning, and that died pretty much a death by the second week. Divided film buffs, yeah, I would say it has, but I think most of the critics have just wanted to see which one wins. Did Superman win? Did Fantastic Four win? Rather than my particular opinion, does the customer or the viewer win? Right? Because that's the important thing as far as I'm concerned. Not a critic comes along and says, yeah, Warner did really well with this title, and let's hope that they take that money away and do something better. I want that for all films. But all they're interested in is which one went across the finish line first. and it's a shame about the others. What a crock of shit is what I say about that. But anyway, once you continue, once released to streaming, I'll make my mind up and give my view then through looking at the trailers. I'm not even enamoured with the style and choice of direction. The only thing I would say about that is try not to go in with an expectation. Try to go in by watching it as a film. Try not to overanalyze and so forth in regards to what the director was trying to portray. The 2 films that you're talking about are comic book adaptions. And one of those comic book adaptions, okay, so take away Superman, which is more a reboot, is actually trying to do something different and end a very, very patchy and bad play by Marvel. They knew early on this multiverse didn't work, but they were trapped in their own success in the fact that they had to continue to a point where it ends. And Fantastic Four, therefore, is approaching the end of that. And it's one of the last films that you're going to see in another universe. And when you get to this other universe, it's more like a what-if tale. It's not a comic book adaptation 100% like you'd get with the early works that we saw of Iron Man and so forth. They're set in a different planet, a different universe, and therefore a different set of people, and therefore also a different sex of people. In fact, actually, so much has been talked about in regards to the Silver Surfer, where I walk that tight line of going, I understand where you're coming from, right? I'm disappointed that the Silver Surfer is not a male. The comic book shows it was a male, but this is another universe. And the other thing about it is the comic books did do this adaptation where the Silver Surfer was a woman, and it was this particular character called Charlotte Bell. And Charlotte Bell is the girlfriend of Norrin Radd, who actually turned into the Silver Surfer. It's just another take on it. In other words, this universe still has a Norrin Radd. We don't know if that person is the first Herald, even a Herald at all. May have died like Charlotte Bell didn't die, but the whole planet was moved to a point where the Silver Surfer would never be able to find it. And so the planet and his life was wiped. His memories were wiped. That's not in this film, but that's because everything went in a different direction in this film because it's a different universe. Anyway, I'm going off topic here. Anyway, you continue. Are we accepting films more favourably because they're less woke, or no woke films being average due to the sheer exhaustion and fatigue from the constant preaching? Do you know what? That's an interesting one. And I'd agree pretty much wholeheartedly that I look at films in this decade not really having any standouts, and the ones that do stand out are newer IPs with no bog down of history, and are tending to be from the indie side of things, small movie studios, rather than big sort of like IP intellectual properties. So I'm agreeing with you on that one. You continue. I don't currently see a shift in quality. The Running Man and the new War of the Worlds look absolutely atrocious. Again, yeah, I don't think Hollywood knows how to do a trailer these days. I'm hoping that the films turn out okay. I've seen one review already of War of the Worlds, and it was a rant. And I agreed with parts of what was going in there. The Running Man is supposed to be closer to the book rather than the one that I've done a short of. Good, because you don't want just a rehash of what Arnie did. Does it work? Who's to know? The trailer doesn't excite me like the Running Man trailer did back in the day, but I was a younger man then, in a different mindset, in a different time. So what I was looking for in that trailer was action, 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 and hopefully the story was engrossing, and it ended up being something that was quite a good satire, actually. So, you know, it's not Arnie's best, The Running Man. Go and watch my short. You will see that even I in there say it's not the best. But I tell you what, if it's on telly, I watch it. It's one of those things. It's a nostalgia thing. Continuing, it says here, saying all that, I watched The Amateur last night and it was quite enjoyable, though nothing groundbreaking. Would I watch it again? Nope. Nope. And this is the issue. Films currently can't stand up to multiple viewings. Yeah, and I'd agree with that as well. There's a couple. I've watched a couple of times this year. Sinners being one, I've watched that a couple of times. Companion, I've watched that a couple of times now. But it's not like the past. I could watch things like The Three Fugitives, Throw Mama from the Train, Explorers, Tron, multiple times. In fact, I could get to the end and then watch it again immediately afterwards. Such are some of the powers that you get with nostalgia and the quality of films back in the day. These ones tend to be one hits, and I don't really have an urge to put the disc in again next week and say, I'm going to watch that again. So, yeah. So you continue. So have you had your good, the bad, and the ugly set yet? No. I think you were probably aware of that because when we had a chat on Monday, I happened to mention that that hadn't arrived, and you actually happened to mention that, yeah, I think it's first or second week of August for you. It's only people that ordered from Arrow that get it, and I couldn't at the time because Arrow would have took my money at the time of the announcement, and that was 3 months ago, and that was at the time where every piece of money I needed was for my mum, so I couldn't do it. You continue. I've actually passed on the 4K Knight Rider set due to incorrect episodes syndicated instead of 90-minute specials and music changes. Yeah. It's such a sad thing that there aren't much in the way of 4K TV conversions. Knight Rider being one of the oldest and newest. And they on top of what they've remastered, they've gone and altered things like the music that's in it and titles and all sorts of stuff, which they didn't need to, I think, do unless the license had changed in regards to the music. That could have happened. I doubt it. I think that's just tinkering for no reason to tinker. So yeah, I'm with you on that. So you've said not paying a huge amount, not for it to be uncut. I've bought the German Turbine set. Yeah, this is the set from last year. Fully uncut and original music. Doesn't give me much hope, though, for the 4K Incredible Hulk. No, possibly it doesn't. I believe that Knight Rider again was Universal, as was Hulk. So yeah, who's to say what they've done with that? From my perspective, the Hulk was a better show than Knight Rider. Probably because I watched it late 70s, and so it stuck with me. Knight Rider came out in that boon of the 80s. Automan, Street Hawk, Manimal, McCormick and McCormick, Simon and I forgot what they're called now. Crazy Like a Fox. All of those fantastic shows, great catchy tunes. We're lucky at the moment if we've got Blu-rays on them. So I agree with you there. Later today, check out your Steam account. I'll be sending you over a game that I think you'll like. Well, that's very decent of you. Do you know what? I love it when somebody does something like that to me. I'm never very good at showing my emotions on that. I've loved buying things for other people, and I've shied away from showing when somebody's bought something for me, although that's rare. I don't have much bought for me. But it's made me think automatically that you've had to think about the games I might like and not like, make a decision, buy it, send it, just off your own back because you want to. That makes me feel so good. It's unbelievable. Thank you so much. I'll look forward to that. So, question for this week. What do you think of the new Online Safety Act bill? Do you think it's an attack on our civil liberty? And what do you think are the dangers ahead if it isn't repeated? Pass on my best to your mum. Right, I've had a drink. Civil, the Online Safety Act bill, yes. It was all on the radio, actually. On Monday, they did a big talk on it to say it just started, and on Wednesday, they were telling on the radio, I think it was on Nick's Radio 5 morning channel, that already thousands of businesses have closed down And the reason for it is implementation of it and how much return customer you're going to get when they have to prove their age. It's a horrible thing because it's there really, I think, because of porn. And I've always said that the first thing that the internet really did, after proving that you can do something on the internet and praising how this is going to open up the door for us all, the porn industry grew faster than anything else. But we had our parents that policed us. And I do think that if porn was on a totally different World Wide Web system, it could be managed better. I don't think putting in this age restriction thing helps at all, because the people that are looking at this stuff are savvy enough to go to a YouTube channel that says, here's how you can circumvent the security, like through a VPN or something. So it really doesn't help. So my thoughts are, it's an absolute travesty and something that should not be there. It should be gone. And it should never have started. That's my personal opinion on it. I don't think there's much for me to add on there. I could probably think of more, but for me, I'm dead against it, just so that you know, officially. Please pass on my best to your mum, mates. Cheers, buddy. No, cheers to you. Thanks very much for being a mate. Thanks for taking care of me. Absolutely wonderful. And I'll be just back in a moment. Sorry, just something's just cropped up for a moment. And feeling so much better now. And thanks very much to my friend Denny and his question. Yeah, that's that civil bill. Awful. Dead against it. I really am. Don't usually have an opinion on something. I couldn't be more against it if I tried, to be quite honest. It's a waste of time because people will just circumvent it, and businesses will suffer because the people that can't circumvent it will just get frustrated with trying to use e-commerce, to buy things. So yeah, anyway, let's move on to my next friend, Steve's Gaming Part 2. You bastard, fucking hate you, little shit. I have to do my salute. Of course, Steve and I go back a long way, and again, we have different views and opinions which never get in the way, just like I do with my friend Alan and Denny and so many, we deliberate and basically understand the 2 points of view and can still continue to have your focus on your particular angle on it. You don't need to get into frustrating battles. So Steve's Gaming, so let's see what he's put. He's put, hi Del, it's Saturday night and I've just realised my comment was deleted. I left it on Wednesday. I know I did. Anyway, I'll just make a quick comment now. Now then, better than nothing, but this deleting it by YouTube is getting ridiculous now. Yeah, and I agree, and I'm so sorry that it happens. And of course, Denny's given you advice, I've given you advice that you shouldn't need to do, such as, writing it in a text editor, saving it, copy and pasting it back if it gets deleted. It shouldn't get deleted. You're in my safe list. I've no idea why it happens, and it pisses me off. I mean, I have to check when you ask, and I go, I'm not supposed to be looking here till Sunday when I'm doing the actual blog. I don't want to read it now. And then it's not there, and I go, sake, what's going on? Because it's random. He's left a comment on one of my videos that I did, and that's there. So why has this one been removed? What word did it not like? And there's a logarithm that's being used. No idea. Atrocious. Anyway, I hope your week went okay and your mum is okay. I won't go into details, but this week has been horrendous for me. I had some news, was very upsetting, quite frankly. So far, this has been one of the worst years of my life, and it's far from over. Anyway, other comments. Yeah, and what can I say? It mirrors mine, matey. I mean, I didn't foresee this happening to my mum. I didn't foresee the Ministry of Justice asking for people to opt out of their jobs. I didn't see training for me being so hard after my heart attack. Concentration not very low. Harder to do the fun things, and the fun things I used to do not being fun anymore. Yeah. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me, but you know, this is happening to Steve, it's happening to my friends, and I'm one of these compassionate people that live the life of others through what they've told me, and it compounds on top of everything that's going on with me, and it makes me feel powerless. What can I do for my friend? Nothing. Oh, and he's told me that he's having a horrendous time. Usually I can get people past that point. Tell them it's going to get better. How can I do that when the world like it is? It's terrible. So he continues, I like your gaming and film shorts. They are great, but I'd like to see you stream too. Yes, I know you're too busy and I'm asking far too much. Ha ha. No, I took that on and I mentioned it earlier. Watch this space. So he said, I forgot what I said on Wednesday and I forgot my damn questions. So let me think. Think of two questions. Looking at modern games, like from now back to, say, the year 2000, which modern games has the best soundtrack for you? Myself, it would be hard choice between Fallout 4 and Mafia 3. I love the late 50s rock and roll. And then he goes on to the next question. Now, that's an interesting question, isn't it? Soundtracks. Because when we get to the year 2000, we've all got CD and DVD players in our PCs. Games consoles have turned around to be Dreamcast, PS1s, PS2s, Xbox 360s, Xbox Ones, PlayStation 5s. You know, even handhelds can now hold more data, and SD cards can go 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte. Oh my God, it just goes on and on and on. And that means bigger space, bigger music, bigger graphics, bigger levels, and everything else. I remember when I got the PS1, I was so excited for the game Wipeout. It had the Chemical Brothers on it. And when I bought that game, not only did I love the visuals, the game I really had difficulty with because it just drifted so much. But I love the soundtrack. I thought, wow, this electronic score is brilliant. And then, of course, other games came along like... what's that game that I really, really love? Where you're surfing along a roller coaster type thing. It'll come to me in a moment. But anyway, that doesn't count anyway because the soundtrack is one that you put in yourself. But I suppose the games that come to mind are the ones that I played the most. And they're things like Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2, which had fantastic orchestral scores. And I was humming the tunes when I wasn't playing the game. Much like those early SID Commodore 64 tunes. Only these were with proper instruments and proper music and proper bands and all of that sort of stuff. So it's a very difficult question because I suppose the answer to it really is the ones that made me play it the most. Because the music interacted with me. And that would go with everything that you said with regards to Fallout and Mafia. But yeah, Even the Star Wars games are atmospheric because they play Star Wars music in it and the Star Wars sound effects. Music is a very powerful device. So we must never forget that. And that basically turns everything around, doesn't it, in regards to what we consider to be great or not. I'm sure there's plenty of titles I could mention here, but I can't quite. And the game, by the way, was Audio Surf. See, it comes to mind now. Don't know why I was having so much difficulty with it. Question 2. Did you ever buy a game on cassette or disc and it was so bad that you recorded another game on it? If so, what was the first game you did this to? As I couldn't record over Atari 2600 cartridges, no, nor could I. My first one would be the ZX81. And thinking back, it was probably Gulp. But I can't remember who. Or Fantasy Games by Sinclair Scion. Anyway, all of the best, mate. My love to your mum. Take care. What a brilliant, nice question. What a brilliant, lovely, sentimental end to your comment to me. And I, like you, have gone back all the way to the Atari days of Pong and so forth, where you couldn't do anything. But I was at that time also playing on Commodore PETs and Apple IIs in our computer study area at school. And I used to put double notches on the discs so that you could turn them over and record on the other side. And I must have recorded over things like Pet Invaders and all of that because I couldn't afford the discs. I was broke. You know, my parents weren't that flush. They wanted to buy the house as fast as possible. And my dad was doing overtime. So pocket money was quite scarce. And I was buying an awful lot or repairing an awful lot of computers and keeping them for myself. And therefore I couldn't afford all of the games, especially for things like Oryx, Jupiter Aces, Sinclair Spectrums. So yeah, the earliest one therefore is bound sure probably to be the VIC-20. I can't remember the ZX80 or the ZX81 days. And it's bound sure to be one of the Imagine titles. They were at best mediocre and worse, absolutely atrocities. So yeah, I would think I'm not really answering it very well there, am I? But it is going to be that as my answer, I think. And thank you so much for that, Steve. That's absolutely brilliant of you. Salute, my friend, and thanks so much for your channel, and I can't wait for you to come back. It's going to be brilliant. And the next one is Wee Bob Art, but I think he's actually got a couple here. And I don't know which one to read out first. Let's do the bottom one first. He says here, still watching along. I'm an hour and a half in, but my butt hurts from sitting. Anyway, your answer to my question was great as I watched The Monkey recently. And if someone had asked me who was in it, I would have said James Franco. I also get Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman confused a bit. Not as much as others. Anyway, wanted to write a comment before I forgot the points I wanted to raise. Anyway, I will possibly add another comment later with a question for next week. But for the moment, my arse cheeks need to walk around a bit. Hope you have a good rest of your Sunday and all the best to you, your mum and family. Thank you so much. What nice sentiments. I mean, my God, they just helped me so much. Going to go up a little bit because there was another one. Here we go. He also says, Del, I got to the end of the blog today. I won't add much to my previous response, but to ask a question. I do like a twin stick shooter like Robotron or Smash TV. Can you come up with any other games which use this mechanic? Oh my God, I love them. Absolutely love them. And I want more of them. and there is quite a bit out there that I haven't got. But let me think. I suppose it starts off with Geometry Wars. When I got Geometry Wars in the 360 arcade, I then started to buy it on other machines because I loved it so much. And Geometry Wars has got so many other versions, you know, Geometry Wars 1, 2, 3, you know, they've all got subtitles and stuff. But that's a fantastic game. Reso Gun, that uses two sticks. Again, I think that's an Xbox title. Beat Hazard, a shoot 'em up with your own music to be played with, and the shooting pattern is based on the pattern in the tune. Fantastic concept, love that. Enter the Gungeon, and I do pronounce that right, Gungeon. Another twin shooter with Dungeons and Dragons overtones, so to me it works. There's one here that I bought recently, and that's why I had to look closely. It's called Reflex Unit Steel Ops. It's like you have a little helicopter, or you control a car, and you've got to protect the convoy or whatever. So it's sort of like Desert Strike, and the Desert Strike side is dual control. So you can fire in one direction and fly in the other. That works really well. Just trying to read my writing here. X-Morph Descent I played in a live stream the last couple of weeks. Didn't get very far because I forgot the controls, but that was definitely one. And I think that's it really. There's a lot of twin sticks that are tank control games, but that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for like Smash TV and stuff. So hopefully that's given you some food for thought for picking up some games. And we'll move on in just a moment. You know what? It's I find it amazing that I went outside and the fresh air that hit me sort of like instantly went whoo, like this. And I took some scissors out with me just to get rid of some dead heads on the roses. And I was thinking about what I'd been saying and all that sort of stuff. And it's amazing how, you know, you sort of reflect even on something that you said a couple of minutes ago. But everything that I was saying was still held true. I was thinking about that Civil Liberties Bill. I was thinking about games and all of that sort of stuff. It's amazing how my background is so varied that I've had a great life. You know, I've experienced so much. What a horrible thing it is that your brain has sometimes so much difficulty recalling the emotion that was there when you were playing that. It just seemed like there was so much more time. But anyway, a bit too philosophical there, really. We'll move on. I hope I've given some games there. I did think of another one, and that was called Ants Took My Eyeball. See what I mean? When I was thinking of games, I was going, what's that game that I was playing the other day? Because it really was the other day. Ants ate... Ants Took My Eyeball. Another twin shooter. I think I mentioned Enter the Gungeon. And there's a game called The Ascent. But it's an oldish game now. And I think I mentioned some of the other twin stick stuff are more tank games. That I've always mentioned that one of my favourite games that my old friend introduced to me on the American Air Force Base was called Assault by Namco, a top-down scaling tank game where you use the twin sticks to move forward, or you did him forward and back to do a turn. But not really what you're after, because you were talking more about Robotron and Smash TV and those sort of games, which are lovely. And of course, Jeff Minter's done Llamatron, and there's been lots of sort of like versions of Robotron that I've sort of like kept away a little bit of those. So yeah, I hope I've given some good games there, and maybe some of them are in the sale now, I'm not sure. So we get to Ian Hill now. We get to my friend. Thank you so much, wee Bob. I mean, I'll be talking about you a little bit later on in your channel, actually, because you've done some stuff. So we get to Ian, and he's put, "Hi, Del Boy. Hope you and your mum are okay, and at least having some normality in your life, despite the demands of being a full-time carer. This is the best you can hope for, and maybe help come to terms with your situation as a full-time carer." Yeah, I think we're starting to think now outside the box a little bit. Think about how my sister and I, both of us, need to relax and find a time for this to work. I know that I found something for my sister. It doesn't actually help me, but that will come. Much harder for me. I live here, so I don't get away. That's the thing. I enjoyed our live stream together on Wednesday. We had some good laughs together, as well as having well-informed comments and discovering new films. Always something to look forward to. I learned today that a cousin had died. Oh no. And now I only have 2 left. It made me think that with my older brother and son, my family is getting smaller. I remember how my mum loved bringing the whole family together with preparing lots of food for everyone. She would spend hours in the kitchen prepping all this food. She loved doing it, and she was in her element. Such memories bring a warm smile to my face, knowing how happy this made her feel. Yeah. And that's what I try and do with my mum. It's horrible to see her how she is, because I know that in a normal life she wouldn't be like this. She would be in the kitchen, she'd be, all sorts of stuff that that's not happening now. I've watched quite a few films this week. The highlights were Cold Sweat 1970, which you sent me as a download. Yeah. I know your love of James Mason, and of course it was an old 70s film, which I thought, do you know what? I wonder if he's seen this one. And it was again on Rewind TV. So, no brainer really. This was a great crime thriller starring Charles Bronson and the brilliant James Mason. The other film you sent me was 28 Years Later. This was excellent, another in my list of favourite films of the year, because 28 Years Later is a lot newer. I'm looking forward to watching that when I get it on my steelbook. It's a trilogy, obviously. So I mean, obviously on TV they've shown 28 Days Later a lot recently, to the point where I've got sick of seeing it in the titles, showing that this film is being shown tonight. I mean, it's just like, oh, what again? Jesus. So I don't want it to become too bad for that. This afternoon I watched a film called Lost Command 1966, starring Anthony Quinn, Alain Delon, George Segal and Michelle Morgan. This was set in the French colonial period in Algeria. Some great performances on a small budget. I enjoyed it a lot. Brilliant. Yeah, I love it when you discover a new film. It's absolutely marvellous. Then you want to tell the world about it. It's amazing. My question this week is, do you think the great empires in history were beneficial to civilizations or just simply barbaric? Wow. Oh, how many historians have probably debated that through life? And I tell you what, even in fantasy worlds like comedies, there's been that element. Like even with the Fantastic Four right now, there's a character called Galactus. It devours worlds, right? And in Doctor Who, we've got the Daleks, right? It's been debated, even though they kill billions, destroy planets, smash the hell out of everything, there is so much good that comes out of it with camaraderie. Planets will get together to band together to destroy a threat and become lifelong partners, bounce ideas off of each other, come up with new ways of science that will only benefit themselves and others. So when we look at our background and we see the Romans, I mean, look what they... It's amazing that I was going to mention something out of Monty Python there. What have the Romans ever done for us, right? Yeah, there's roads, the aqueduct. Do you know what I mean? It's even in comedy debated. And yet, when we look at what the Romans were, they were not the nicest of people. Slavery, poverty, great architecture for the high and mighty, and shit for everybody else. And it's just debated all the time. Now, we had so many... The Romans conquered and conquered and conquered, but there was so much joining together to push back the threat. You know, England at the time was being raided by Romans. We had the Vikings. We had the Normans, the Saxons. We had everything. Do you know what I mean? And we pushed it back each time, or integrated it into our society to where we are now. So I always look at it that even the bad has shaped us into what we are now, and we understand, hopefully, I think, a lot of the mistakes along the way, or should I say that's what should be happening. You'd think when you look outside the window you can see signs of this, but I can't. But yeah, we wouldn't be, I think, where we are today if it weren't for the Romans. And they were a warlike breed. So yeah, I hope that's answered the question. It's a very big philosophical question. He put all the best, and I hope you have a reet grand time, which is his favourite little saying, and I love it. Brilliant. Salute, my friend, and I'll move to my next friend, which is Colin Jones, aka Ponder, who's put, if your mother's mental health is down to silent strokes, although that's not good, it's better than the alternative, and has now been diagnosed, so can be treated or kept to watch. Send in my regards as always. No, that's absolutely wonderful, yeah. And it's the not knowing that's the worst. You continue, I really enjoyed the Fantastic Four film, as I said in my vlog. I did see 3 things that were more unrealistic than the superpowers, but I'm not going to give any spoilers, and it didn't in any way spoil the movie. Best way, matey. Couldn't explain that better if I tried. My biggest memory of the Blue Max was getting a knock on the door telling us there was water flooding the street. It was December 27th, 1979, the day the river burst its banks. Oh God, that's an interesting anecdote. Regarding channel subscribers or viewers, I go by who I like to watch, not by how many subs they have. Often, though, I'm not around when these people are streaming. Yeah, that's the issue. And I don't look at the subs. I wouldn't even right now have a clue about Mainmeisters or any of the others that have been in shows or philosophical shows. So and then you've got screw the haters. Always screw the haters. They can F off and watch something else. Yeah, that's how I look at it as well. My question, what is your favourite novelty funny t-shirt? Do you know what? I've got so many t-shirts. I'm not quite sure how many ones are novelty. But there's one that's terrible. It's not my favourite. I'm just going to show it. It's definitely something you couldn't wear today. It was bought for me. I wore it once and never wore it again. I've got it here. Please don't hate me for this, but this was bought for me. It's got on the front inflatable womanizer, and then down the bottom it's got blow here. God. I mean, you couldn't get a worse taste t-shirt if you tried. And I've got other t-shirts similar to that have got symbols that make up a word, you know, based on memes and emoticons and all that sort of stuff. But I tend to just wear something Marvel or plain or a pattern or something, just the way I am. And I don't go out so much anymore, so it suits me down to the ground. Hope that answers your question. Hope that made you chuckle a little bit. At least you got to see it. Not many people see that. And we'll move into Martroid now. And Martroid has left 3 comments, and I have no idea which one to read first. Let's just do them in order, shall we? So Martroid has put, and another thing. So it can't be the first one. And another thing. I just watched the Get Carter theme from your playlist. Bloody brilliant. Yeah, I've got a playlist of music that's all over YouTube. It's usually from films, but it's got TV scores and so forth, and movie scores as well. So I go to these sites and I listen to things like the whole soundtrack to Get Carter, say, or Jurassic Park, or, you know, they might be integrated into a chat with one of the actors of the time. So yeah, that's great. Your next one has got, your gameplay on Mr. Do was absolutely on point, Del. Nothing wrong with it. Don't change a thing about the series. Well, that's really nice. Nice feedback, and I'll try not to. At the time, it was distressing and depressing. I've seen now since then apologies and all sorts of stuff, and to be quite honest, I've got no opinion on it other than people can say what they want, but I've got a great community of friends that are helping me out, and even the person who wrote that is a great bloke, and I've visited his channel plenty of times, and we've chatted in rooms together, so that's great. You then written down, this is from Martroid as well. It's definitely been a week of favourites for entertainers, Del. In the jazz world too, with legends like Chuck Norris, Chuck Mungione and Cleo Lane among those who we've now lost. It's always sad to see them go, but comforting to know they lived all full lives, and what's it say? Comforting to know that they lived full lives and brought so much joy to their fans. Yeah, absolutely marvellous. I'm sorry that I butchered that, but can't say anything better than what you just said. They're absolutely fantastic. So many of the comments that I get are very, very good constructive ones, and I thank everybody for that. I try not to dwell too much on the negative ones, although I do mention them. But from their point of view, you have to respect it. That's how it's come across. So I always take that into consideration when I'm saying a mid-rant or argument. And the last one is Wee Bob Art. And I'll read this. Still watching along. I'm an hour and a half in, but my butt hurts from sitting. Anyway, your answer to my question was great as I watched on the Monkey recently. I think I've read this, haven't I? Yeah, we've read that one out. So I'm going to read it out again just for closure. Still watching along. I'm an hour and a half, but my butt hurts from sitting. Anyway, your answer to my question was great as I watched the Monkey recently, and if someone had asked me who was it, and I would have said James Franco. I also get Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman confused a bit, not as much as others. Anyway, wanted to write down comment before I forgot the points I wanted to raise. Anyway, I would always add another comment later with a question for next week. But for the moment, my checks need to walk around. My cheeks need to walk around a bit. Hope you have a good rest of your Sunday. And all the best to you, your mum and family. No, thank you very much for watching. Like I said, I hope I managed to get that out okay. It's very hot in here again. And that concludes the comments, which means that we're on to everything in this pad in regards to what I've watched on YouTube. So I'm going to get myself ready and come back in a second. Hello, and we're on the final stretch now, and thanks for your patience on all of this. Not that you've had to do much other than sort of like watch it continue, but from my point of view, it's been stop-start, and I hate it when it's like that, but this sleep deprivation and so forth causes a lot of problems, but you can see that when I unpause, I sort of like wake up. It's amazing. I don't know quite what it is. I hope to see that doctor soon. I think it's the 11th of August that they've extended it to. So we'll see, but it'll be the first consultation. I don't expect anything. But we get to watch it on YouTube. And as you know, I like this particular one panel because it's all new stuff that doesn't normally come up in my alert screen for YouTube. But there are always four that I watch, which is This Week in Retro, Techmoan, Gadget Show, and Chronologically Gaming. And unfortunately, some people do have to have their breaks and so forth. So This Week in Retro and Chronologically Gaming are the only two that did anything. Now, I criticised This Week in Retro a bit last week. Well, no, the criticism is a bad word. I didn't understand why on the week of an anniversary they didn't do it that weekend, but they did it this weekend. There's nothing. The Amiga turns 40 is what we're talking about, and that was in this week, and the sentiment was really nice. I don't think they went that far with it. It is the anniversary of the Amiga 1000, but of course I had an Amiga 1000. So to me it's a very big event. But you know, it's nice that it's just even covered. They did also This Week in Nerdfest and Retro Directory turns 2.0. Yeah, there was a bit of everything in there this week, and I really enjoyed watching it. It's a nice hour-long thing to watch on a Saturday morning. I don't have to do anything other than have a bowl of Special K in front of my face while I'm watching a nice sort of like retro montage of things. And Chronologically Gaming, it's continuing December 1982, as it always is at the moment. December 1982 was huge in regards to gaming. It's Christmas. What do you expect? And he did some various shorts, stuff that has been shown already, but split into a little short. That's great. I hope it expands people watching his channel. Absolutely marvellous. I then watched something called Cosmic Wonder. That's the name of the channel. And that's because big news on the Marvel front. Spider-Man Brand New Day has had a couple of reveals. One, the costume. Two, a little bit about plot leaks. It's nice to get people excited, but it is a far, far place away. But they've got to do something because they've now got to film outdoors. And there will be people, therefore, taking photographs and so forth. So to get in early, the first thing they've done is said, hey, should we show you what our actual costume looks like this year? He's going to be wearing it outside, so we might as well get that bit out of the way. Plot leaks, that's because anything can change. You know what I mean? You can lead people down a rabbit hole with that one. So, fair play, but a great video. Then I moved to Mark Commode, who did a review of The Naked Gun. Now, this was a film that I actually have already said dreading a little bit because I love The Naked Gun and The Files of the Police Squad. This has got Liam Neeson in it, but I've heard mostly good things. Afterwards, I've heard quite a few negative things, where, again, the jokes are all in the trailer. Oh, God, if that's true, I don't think I'd have found it very funny. It's put me on edge again in regards to will I or won't I enjoy it or see it. I've made up my mind that I will see it. I've made up my mind that I will enjoy it if I enjoy it and dislike it if I don't. And not get too worried or bogged down that it ruins an IP, because those free films, Naked Gun, 33 and a third, Naked Gun 2.5, they're all still there, still enjoyable. So that'll be great. Oh, and I've got a friend that's just turned up now. Look. I don't know if you can see the tail. Look, this is our little stray cat that comes in. Oh, God. He's hungry. He wants some food. And yeah. So I suppose I better feed the little little ginger ninja, and I'll be back in a moment because he'll be all over me. So sorry. Won't be a moment. Yes, stop it, you meowing. Right, the little ginger ninja's been fed. So we got to the review of The Naked Gun and my trepidation for it, but I'll take my own opinion of it when I get to see it. Then there was a channel called Crazy Burger, and that's because there's been a surprise. There's a new Commodore 64 Mini in black coming out, and it's basically just a normal Commodore 64 Mini. It'll have all the new firmware on it, but they've put 25 new games on it. What I mean by 25 new games, the homebrew market, even when the Commodore 64 stopped, people still developed games and put them out there. If you go to any retro sort of like show, you will see that there are companies that are bringing out games, and they are absolutely exceptional. I mean, the coding that's done today, you wouldn't have thought that these machines could eke out this absolute power that's inside this machine. The sounds are great, the graphics look great. So to have 25 of these titles now in this new Mini is absolutely marvellous. I hope it sells well. I must admit, I'm more looking forward to things like a fully sized Amiga, say, than a mini console. But 25 of these games that have been out for sale must come to an exceptional bargain, I should think, on this Mini. If it's the same price as the original Mini was, great. Get one now. Then I watched Stez Mix. Now, I've mentioned him before. He just does these odd little repair jobs with a soldering iron and a microscope and all that sort of stuff. He can be quite funny. He actually came up because he was fixing a toy pinball machine, and I was actually looking at Pinfest. And that's because Pinfest is just around the corner for me. I'll be meeting up with a friend, Jambon, who's also a friend of this channel. And that's at the end of August, the beginning of my holiday, 2 weeks off. Really looking forward to that. And my sister's also aware of this. And I'll only be going, in the morning and then coming back late afternoon. So it's not much of a trip away, more a fill-in of something that I would normally have time off for anyway. It'd be like working a day, like during Monday to Friday, but extended into Saturday for her. But it's very nice that my sister's covering for me for that. The rest of the 2 weeks I'm not looking forward to. What am I going to be doing? I'll be at home. We're looking after my mum all the time. Why not? I can't go anywhere. So, yeah. That's something to look forward to. So he was fixing a toy pinball machine, and it was a simple fix in the end. But it was interesting to see how they make these things. God, they're tin pot. My God, I wouldn't have bought one. Then there was a site called Old and New Video Games. What they were doing is looking at the stunning 16-colour DOS EGA games. That's what it's called. And it is, to think about it, it is stunning. Back in the 1980 games, 87, 86, 88, there was no VGA, SVGA. It was EGA, CGA. These EGA games are 16 colour. So basically, it's amazing what you can do with 16 colours because you can't stipulate too well. But I think you have a larger palette of colours that you can go towards. But it all depends on the card that was being used and manufactured at the time. But it was an interesting thing to look at the 16 games. And there were a couple in there I'd have gone, what? What are you choosing that for? But most of it, the majority, I was going, yeah, good for you. Absolutely brilliant. Then I've been watching this one guy. His name is called Dave Cullen. And he cropped up, I think, because of the Superman and the Fantastic Four stuff that I clicked on sort of like accidentally. And he brought up a video called What the Hell Is This Mess? Star Trek Academy. And oh my God, I couldn't agree with him more. There's some publicity shots. I don't know if there's a trailer, but there's a new show being called Star Trek Academy. Star Trek Academy is not something new to think about, but apparently they've now greenlit it for a show. It's got Holly Hunter in the chair of in the captain's chair, and what he was saying is he said it looks so bad. Holly Hunter doesn't look like a captain. She looks like she's over emotional or empowered by sitting in this chair. She looks scared. You don't have a scared person in the chair. You've got to hide that. The next thing was spot the white man, is what he said. Now, I'm not into this racist stuff and all of that sort of stuff. But apparently, if you were to take a photograph of any of the shots that were in this video of Star Trek Academy, you'd probably see about 3 white people. It's like 11 coloured people to 3 white people. And we don't know whether there's a reason for this, other than, this is to get a point across that, it's not about colour, so does it really matter that there's only 3 white people in it or not? All I know is get the right actors for the right people, and we call it quits there because that's all I look at it as. I don't look at about how they were treated in the past, how they are now, all of that sort of stuff. As long as the right person is in the role, it doesn't bother me. And that ends the watched on YouTube. So we're going to get now to the film, TV, and soundtracks on YouTube. And the first thing that's up there is my mate Ian Hill, The Ramblings. And oh my God, look how much room he takes up, all that top spot there, look. So he's done this week my top 5 comedy films from 2010 to 2017. The Blue Max 1966 DVD review. Doctor Who Revelation of the Daleks review. X-Files Season 4 Episode 14 review. SFX August 2025 review. And Live with Del Boy episode 67. So with me. 67 weeks, man. Absolutely marvellous. I've enjoyed every week. It's been a surprise hit for me. Ian says that he's happy with how things are. It's not about trolls and all the rest of it. It's all about just us having fun and talking as if we were just down the pub. From that point of view, I'm very happy with the format. So that's good. So then we get to Mondo Chelovic Movies. He did an unboxing of Quatermass 2, which I've got as well. Absolutely marvellous, that was. And then he's got his July Vinegar Syndrome titles, because he's a member. He's been getting 6 months worth of physical media through the company Vinegar Syndrome, and their stuff is just top quality. So it's very expensive. I couldn't do it. But it's great to see him enjoying himself, opening those. And he got a few sale pickups as well, that's right. He goes, obviously, he gets some stuff that's going on the internet. There's lots of sales that are on. I try to buy in those sales, but unfortunately money is so tight now at the moment that I can't really do that. I get what I can. Some people are actually giving me links at the moment that help an awful lot, and thank you very much to all those people that are looking out for me. Then we get to my mate Pete, Playtendoguy. He did a 4K and a Blu-ray haul, just like Mondo's done. Marvellous to see people entertained. He got some great films in there. So happy for him. Then we got Through the Lens. He did a surprise live show. I was there. He was ranking the Marvel movies, and I happened to mention to him, I said, it's a good job I'm not involved. I said, because it all depends when you're looking at these things. Your mindset. Are you looking at this from a comic book perspective and accuracy? Are you looking at it from an entertaining point of view? Or are you looking at it from a political agenda type view on things? From my perspective, a comic book that's being turned into a film needs to be entertaining, but the director needs to make a decision right at the beginning on how accurate it's going to be. If it's going to be an adaptation and you're going to do it in your own vein, then make sure that the sentiment is there in regards to the original writing. So he mentioned Amazing Spider-Man, and an Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield didn't get well received. But what I said to him on that one is that I said the redeeming feature, I think, of Amazing Spider-Man is, although it told a totally different way, although it told a different adaptation of how Gwen Stacy died, the sentiment and the way it was is sort of there. The thing about the death of Gwen Stacy is it's the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin captures Gwen Stacy and puts her on top of something that's physically she couldn't get away from. She's on top of a bridge. Okay, so she can't climb down or anything. She's most of the time she's unconscious anyway. A big battle is happening with Spider-Man. At the end, Spider-Man thinks he's knocked out his villain and is rushing up to save his girlfriend, Gwen Stacy. The Green Goblin manages to get there first, knock her off the side of the building, and she's falling to her death. Here's the dilemma. How do you save her? In this particular instance, he fired his web shooter. It's something that he's had around for years and years and years. It's like 121 issues of web shooters. But it hit Gwen Stacy, and there is a little word caption next to her neck, and it says snap. Now, for years and years and years, people have commented and deliberated. What was it that killed Gwen Stacy? Was it the fall? Or was it the webline snap? You know, the snap mark. And of course, the writer's not going to say a thing. Let you decide. But from the hero's perspective, it didn't matter. He let her down. It's his fault, really. Even though the protagonist, the Green Goblin, is the one that instigated it all. It's just that him having someone close to him as Peter Parker meant that she was in danger from the very outset. Which is why it's so poignant when you get to Mary Jane and the wedding, that she understood, isn't that my choice? That I'm put in the front line of danger. It's not your choice to say I can't get close to you because of that. And these are all of the philosophical questions that you get in comics that are aimed at kids that are 8 years old. And this is what I was presented with when I was 8 years old. And I just loved it. I soaked it up. Brilliant. But I digress. Through the lens, you know, he was going to put it in the lower tier. And I said, but you know, I'd probably put it mid. Because I think the sentiment was there. And I think if you can't answer the question, was it the snap? Or was it something else that killed, you know, like the fall that killed Gwen Stacy? If you're at the end of that and still can't decide, then it's similar to the book. And therefore you can't really fault it, you know. So anyway, hope you like that. Then we get to Did You See That? And he's done a couple of reviews. He did a film called Together, which came out this year. And talked a little bit about the new War of the Worlds movie and did a rant on it. It's very entertaining to watch, to be quite honest. I'm so happy for Did You See That? He's just reached a milestone with his subscribers. And it's nice that he's adapting and thinking of new ways, not only to keep his subscribers, to move forward and expand into an area that is now an unknown to him. Where do you go from here? 10,000 subs, it's a lot of people. Then we got Muckman-Movies, my friend Muckman-Movies. He did 5 underrated films in your collection on DVD that's not on Blu-ray yet. Sort of like a community question, and he showed off his 5. But since then, he's done other videos, but I haven't been able to watch them just yet. But so there is more to come. So please have a little look for that. Then we've got Movie Collector. I've told you about him before. He's an ex-projectionist. He did Rambo First Blood Part 2 4K review. If you ever want to know, was the picture quality okay? Was the sound all right? There's the guy to go to. I'm an ex-projectionist. If he doesn't know, it ain't worth knowing, is it, really? And then we've got my friend Jim Jam Movies. Such a pleasure to know him. He was out and about in Bridgnorth. 45-minute journey away from him to buy some charity stuff, and he managed to find some stuff and he came back happy as Larry the loafer. No. And then we get to the last part, game and tech YouTube. So salute to all those people that I've just commented on, by the way. We now have Down the Rabbit Hole. He did a pole position PS1 version with his Mad Cat steering wheel. Always entertaining to try and see whether the steering wheel works. I think he's had more misses than hits at the moment in regards to getting him to work. But apparently it's getting better. You know, obviously there's newer updates and, of course, newer people writing scripts that this sort of handheld device could work with. He also did is Drambuie, that's a drink, a copy of Gallia or Irish Mist. I've destroyed those names, but I've never really liked Drambuie. But I've always looked at it like, well, if you're going to talk about copies, which came first? Was it Drambuie or was it There's other stuff. Let's have a look. There's Drambuie, Galagia, and Irish Mist. Which one came first? The others might have replicated. We don't know, do we, in this particular instance? But his next video was called Vectrex Tour de France. And I tell you what, I really enjoyed this because he was showing an old Vectrex. He was showing a Vectrex game, but it's rather modern. It's called Tour de France. You have to pedal on the bike. You've got to pick up water bottles from the side of the screen to get energy. You've got to avoid square sort of hills on the road. The road you've got to stay in between, and to be quite honest, it's undulating a lot, and it's quite close up to the back of the driver, so that fills up a lot of the screen. You've got high and low gears. You've got automatic moving forward. It's got a lot in there that you wouldn't normally get in a bog standard Vectrex game. So I gave that a thumbs up as a video anyway. Absolutely marvellous. Then we've got Robert's Retro Gaming, or should I say royalty from Canada, and I am not worthy. My God, look how much he's done, the little shit. Oh, takes up again a quarter of my page. So we've got Minecraft Play episode 151 and 152, No Man's Sky episode 51, Spectrum game of Qualatron, and some Atari 8-bit games. Bewilderment here. Karajava, Trailblazer, Wild Dalkia something, and then New York City, Big Apple. All of those on the Atari 8-bit. So a lot of stuff there to watch if you just want to look up 5 or 10 minutes worth of stuff. And I dare say he's doing 2 more while we're writing this. That's how the sort of person he is. Moving on to my friend Steve's gaming part 2, along with his Spectrum Zone. Not much going on at the moment, but he has been talking in here, and I have mentioned to you that he's not in a great place, but we're looking after him as best as we can. So, I'm hoping the drugs are working in his system and he's not going to be there much longer. So then we get to 20th Century Gaming, who did a live stream last night on the games that appear in Zap Magazine issue 17. And he managed to get through the whole lot in one sitting. Usually people would split this up. But absolutely marvellous. We had a fun time in there. Then you got Colin Jones, aka Ponder, and he's been busy. Bloody hell. Right. He did a Ponder blog issue 90. He did an Outrun Amiga Outrun on the Amiga, stock Amiga. The parents wanted to do he wanted to also test other versions of it. And those have been done in other videos, and they're not particularly great. But from Colin's point of view, he just wanted to show off the 1200 with the Pi, with the Pi Storm. He did a Mainmeister kerfuffle for the game Raston. He did a Tubers High Score challenge for Grey Lander. And like I say, loads and loads of stuff there for you to watch. I'm sorry I got mixed up a bit with the Outrun, but I've seen so many of these Outruns now, and so many have showed it running really like a dog's dinner, and others showing it off fast. Colin wanted to show what it was like with a Pi Storm. In fact, actually, it was the only one I saw with the Pi Storm in it. So that was marvellous. Wee Barbars, on the other hand, did a video on Rebel 8. He's quite a few hours in. It's one of his most used packages on his computer for his drawing, because he's using a touch panel. Absolutely marvellous. So can't fault that. And then we've got Mainmeister. So my friend Alan, Mainmeister. And I haven't been able to watch too much of him. He's very, very busy at the moment. But I did manage to catch his Sunday stream. And I did manage to look at one of the kerfuffles that he's done this week. It was, I think, for the game called Trap from 1987, done by Tony Crowther. So you get to see this little rocket blasting off, and then it's got to fire its way all the way through the areas. It was quite an interesting video, one that he thought was okay. And that's the end of the paper part of the blog. We're just going to get now to what I bought, and before I do that, I'm just going to mention that there's a game in here, so I'll do that now. I'll switch the camera. Excuse me. There's the overhead camera. I haven't bought much for the Switch 2. It came out a couple of months ago. I bought something from the shop, and they mentioned that there would be new titles soon, and one of the new titles bemused me, even though it's not a character that I particularly have followed too much, and that was Donkey Kong. So there's this game here called Donkey Kong Bonanza, and you can see it's got the Switch 2 symbol up there. It's done slightly differently in the fact that you can smash your way through rocks and actually construct your own way to get to the end of the level that you're trying to do. That intrigued me. Same little cartridge look, no instructions. How dinky that bloody cartridge is. And I will never agree that the price of these things are worth it. I had a £5 voucher, so I got this for £5 below the recommended retail price, and the recommended retail price is a staggering 65 quid. It's too expensive. But I wanted one game for my Switch 2, and that's the one I got. Going past the dentist on Monday into Kex, they had a sealed copy of Luigi's Mansion. Free. There it is. Haven't opened it up yet. That grand value of a tenner. Yes. Instant buy. Like I say, it's nice sometimes to get, you know, something for a console, make you play it a little bit. I think I've shown this before, not sure, but Arrow version of Stallone Cobra came through. Now I've already got a steelbook of Cobra, but I do believe the Arrow one is a new sort of like digital encoding and cleanup. So I don't mind that film. It's not Schwarzenegger's best by any means, but it's not as bad as what people say the game is for the Commodore 64. My God, what a pile of bleh that is. It is a steelbook that I'm looking forward to watching probably today, and that is Cary Grant in To Catch a Thief. I remember seeing this for the first time and loving it, actually. So I'm hoping that I get it. I'm still going to like it. And this is one that's a blind buy. It's called Nobody. But I was told on the chat room on Wednesday and the Ian Hill the Ramblings that it's definitely worth a buy, and I'm going to get a blast out of it. So I'm quite looking forward to that. And then I've got to thank my friend Denny. He sent me a link to something that was very, very cheap. And it turned up. And it's all sealed and everything. It's a show that I used to watch, but I was never that enamoured about it. But I thought it was all right. And it definitely was worth it for this price. It's a network title, so Jim Jam will be interested in that. Look, it's Man in a Suitcase, right? It's every season, though, of Man in the Suitcase. And if you look at the bottom, and if you can freeze frame that, you will notice it is Blu-ray. Absolutely marvellous. A Blu-ray version of all the seasons of Man in a Suitcase. Absolutely marvellous. Look at the box. It's gorgeous. £25, that is. That must have cost far more than that when it came out. And we'll go to the camera. Boom. Where are we? There we go. Now, I could have done some trailers, but I'm concentrating on doing some shorts. So I'm going to be doing some trailers this afternoon to go along with those shorts. And to be quite honest, I don't think a trailer of Man in a Suitcase would do much to anybody. You might get a kick out of nobody, me doing a trailer on that, but there's very few, there's thin pickings there in regards to what I've bought this week. Other than to say the most empowering thing that I've got is you guys. And watching this blog, I hope you understand that. I hope that rings true with you. There are a lot of bad things going on in this world. I try to keep on top of every single one of them, and it can be sometimes quite difficult. So with that, I'm going to say salute. Hope you've enjoyed this. Hope I haven't come across like I'm needing 6 million tablets or something, which is not true. I feel perfectly okay in my life. I just want to help my mum. And with that, I'm going to say salute and say thank you very much until next time. Keep an eye out. You're probably going to see some brilliant stuff. So I nearly forgot what I was going to say then. So salute. See you next time. Bye-bye.